The Manhattan skyline stretched behind the glass pavilion like a promise no one could keep. Nicholas Pellagrini stood near the bar with a glass of whiskey he hadn't touched, watching wealthy people pretend to care about art. The charity gala was exactly what he expected. Boring speeches, fake smiles, business disguised as philanthropy. He was only here because his lawyer insisted. Good optics, the man had said. Show the city you support education and culture. Nicholas supported neither, but he understood strategy. So he came, wore the black suit, nodded at the right people, and waited for the acceptable moment to leave. The pavilion was filled with displays from local schools. Children's paintings covered portable walls. Sculptures made from recycled materials sat on pedestals. Parents walked around taking photos. Teachers guided groups of students through the space with practiced patience. Nicholas checked his watch. 15 more minutes, then he could go. Ethan Rossi appeared at his shoulder, phone in hand. Anthony Bianchi is here, 3rd floor. Wants to talk about the shipment. Tell him tomorrow. He insists. Nicholas exhaled slowly. 5 minutes. No more. Ethan nodded and disappeared into the crowd. Nicholas set his glass down on the bar and turned toward the stairs. That was when he heard it. A voice. Soft, warm, familiar in a way that stopped him mid-step. Connor, slow down. Stay where I can see you. His entire body went cold, then hot. He knew that voice. Knew it better than his own heartbeat once. He hadn't heard it in 4 years, but it landed in his chest like a bullet. Nicholas turned slowly. Across the pavilion, near a wall covered in watercolor paintings, stood Samantha Wells, his ex-wife, the woman he had signed away 4.5 years ago. The woman he told himself he'd forgotten. She looked different. Her blonde hair was longer, falling past her shoulders in soft waves. She wore a simple blue dress and flat shoes. No jewelry except small earrings. She looked older, tired maybe, but still her. Still the face that used to be the first thing he saw every morning. She was crouched down, adjusting the collar of a small boy's jacket. Nicholas froze. The boy couldn't have been older than 4. Dark brown hair, pale skin, small hands clutching a piece of paper covered in crayon drawings. He was talking rapidly, excitedly, and Samantha was smiling at him with the kind of affection Nicholas had only seen her give to things she truly loved. A student, maybe. One of hers. But then the boy turned, and Nicholas saw his eyes. Light brown, almost amber in the pavilion's soft lighting. Almond-shaped, rare, unmistakable. His eyes. The air vanished from the room. Sound muted. Everything blurred except that little boy with his face, his eyes, standing 3 feet away from the only woman Nicholas had ever married. Samantha stood slowly, one hand resting protectively on the boy's shoulder. Her gaze swept the crowd casually, then landed directly on Nicholas. She went pale. For a second, neither of them moved. The pavilion buzzed with voices and movement, but between them stretched a silence louder than anything else in the city. Nicholas saw the exact moment her brain caught up to the situation. Her eyes widened, her lips parted, her hand tightened on the boy's shoulder. She knew. She knew he'd seen. "Connor, we need to go," she said quietly. Voice strained. The boy looked up at her, confused. "But we just got here. Now." She took his hand and started walking toward the exit, weaving quickly through clusters of people. Nicholas watched her retreat, his mind roaring with calculations he didn't want to make but couldn't stop. Connor. The boy's name was Connor. He looked 4 years old, maybe a little younger, hard to tell. The divorce had been finalized 4.5 years ago. June 14th. He remembered the date because it was the same day his father died. He'd signed the papers in a hospital waiting room while his mother sobbed 3 doors down. If the boy was his, if those eyes meant what Nicholas thought they meant, then Samantha had been pregnant when they signed. And she never told him. His jaw clenched so hard his teeth ached. Ethan reappeared, frowning. "Boss, Bianchi is waiting." "Not now. He won't like that." Nicholas turned his head slowly. Ethan, who had worked for him for 8 years and survived situations that killed better men, took a step back at whatever he saw in Nicholas's face. "Find out where she lives," Nicholas said, voice flat and cold. Ethan blinked. Who? Samantha Wells, blonde woman, blue dress, just left with a kid. I want her address in 10 minutes. Ethan didn't ask questions. He pulled out his phone and walked away. Nicholas stood there, fists clenched at his sides, staring at the exit where Samantha had disappeared. Around him, the gala continued. People laughed. Someone gave a speech about the importance of supporting young artists. A child dropped a sculpture and started crying. Nicholas heard none of it. All he could see was those eyes, light brown, almond-shaped, unmistakably his. A boy who looked exactly like Nicholas had at that age, standing beside the woman who'd walked out of his life without explanation, without fighting, without anything except a lawyer and signed documents. Ethan returned in 7 minutes. Found her. Apartment in Brooklyn. Williamsburg area. Lease is under her name only. She's been there 3 years. 3 years. The boy looked about 4. Nicholas's chest tightened. Get the car, he said. You want the driver? No, I'm going alone. Ethan hesitated. Boss, if this is personal. It is. Then you definitely shouldn't go alone. Nicholas looked at him. Get the car. Ethan nodded once and left. Nicholas walked through the pavilion without saying goodbye to anyone. He passed Anthony Bianchi on the stairs. The man called out to him. Nicholas ignored it. He stepped outside into the cool October evening and waited while Ethan pulled the black SUV up to the curb. You sure about this? Ethan asked, handing him the keys. Nicholas took them without answering and got behind the wheel. The drive to Brooklyn should have taken 30 minutes. He made it in 18. His mind wouldn't stop running the numbers. 4 years old. Divorce 4.5 years ago. If she'd been pregnant when they signed the papers, she would have been early in the pregnancy. Maybe 6 weeks. Maybe 8. Easy to miss if she wasn't paying attention. Or maybe she knew. Maybe she knew and didn't say anything, because she wanted out so badly she didn't care about anything else. That thought burned worse than the rest. Nicholas gripped the steering wheel harder. Traffic blurred past. Streetlights reflected off the windshield. He'd spent 4 years telling himself the divorce was the right choice. That Samantha deserved better than his world. That letting her go was the only decent thing he'd ever done. Now he wasn't sure what the truth was. He parked across the street from her building. It was old, worn, the kind of place where rent was cheap and maintenance slower. The front door had a broken intercom. The hallway light flickered. Nicholas sat in the car for 2 full minutes, staring at the 3rd-floor window where Ethan said she lived. A light was on. He got out, crossed the street, and walked into the building. The elevator was out of order. He took the stairs. His footsteps echoed in the stairwell. By the time he reached the 3rd floor, his pulse was too fast and his thoughts too loud. He stopped in front of apartment 3C, raised his hand, hesitated, then knocked. Footsteps approached from inside. Light, quick. The lock turned. The door opened. Samantha stood there, eyes wide, face pale. She'd changed out of the blue dress into jeans and a sweater. Her hair was pulled back now. She looked exactly like the woman he'd married, and nothing like her at the same time. Nicholas, she whispered. We need to talk. Her throat moved as she swallowed. Not here. Connor's asleep. Then let's talk quietly. She glanced over her shoulder, then stepped into the hallway and pulled the door almost closed behind her. How did you find me? Does it matter? Her jaw tightened. Yes, I have resources. You mean you had someone track me down? He didn't deny it. Samantha crossed her arms over her chest. What do you want? Nicholas stared at her. 4 years. 4 years since he'd been this close to her. Since he'd seen the small scar on her left eyebrow from a childhood fall. Since he'd noticed the way she bit her bottom lip when she was nervous. She was doing it now. The boy? He said. Connor. She went very still. How old is he? Her eyes dropped. 4. When's his birthday? February 6th. Nicholas did the math instantly. February 6th meant conception around early May. They'd signed divorce papers June 14th. She would have been 5 weeks pregnant. Maybe 6. He's mine, Nicholas said quietly. It wasn't a question. Samantha's breath shook. She didn't answer, but she didn't deny it either. Look at me." She lifted her eyes slowly. "Is he mine?" Nicholas asked again, voice dropping lower. A tear slid down her cheek. She wiped it away fast, angry at herself for showing weakness. "Yes." The word hit him like a physical blow. Yes, he had a son, a 4-year-old son he'd never met, never held, never knew existed. "Why didn't you tell me?" His voice came out rougher than he intended. "I tried. Not hard enough." Her eyes flashed. "I called your office. Your secretary said you weren't taking calls from me. I tried again 2 days later. Same answer. So I stopped trying." Nicholas's jaw clenched. He remembered that. Remembered telling his assistant to block Samantha's number. He'd been drowning in grief over his father's death and rage over the divorce. And he didn't want to hear her voice. Didn't want the reminder of everything he'd lost. "You could have tried harder," he said. "I was 27, alone, and pregnant with a child whose father made it very clear he didn't want anything to do with me." Samantha shot back. "Forgive me for not forcing my way into your life when you'd already pushed me out of it." Nicholas took a step closer. She didn't back away, but her breathing quickened. "You don't get to do this," he said quietly. "You don't get to keep my son from me for 4 years and act like I'm the one who failed. You signed the papers without a second thought," she whispered. "You didn't ask why. You didn't fight. You just let me go like I didn't matter. I let you go because staying with me would have destroyed you. That wasn't your choice to make." They stood there, inches apart. 4 years of silence and hurt crackling between them like a live wire. Finally, Nicholas exhaled. "I want a paternity test." Samantha nodded. "Fine. And when it confirms what we both already know, I want custody." Her entire body went rigid. "No, he's my son. He doesn't even know you. Because you never gave me the chance. You want me to put him in your world?" Samantha's voice rose slightly. "The same world you said was too dangerous for me? The world that made you sign divorce papers without hesitation?" Nicholas's hands curled into fists at his sides. "That's different." "How?" "Because he's mine. He's mine too," she said fiercely. "And I'm not letting you take him." Nicholas stared at her for a long moment. Then he stepped back. "I'll have the test arranged tomorrow. A private lab. Discreet. You can bring him." "And then what?" "Then we figure out what happens next." He turned and walked down the hallway toward the stairs. Behind him, he heard Samantha's door open and close softly. Nicholas didn't look back. He got in the car, gripped the steering wheel, and sat there in the dark. He had a son with his eyes, his face, his blood. And he'd missed 4 years of that boy's life. The rage that filled him wasn't directed at Samantha. Not entirely. It was aimed at himself, for being too proud to answer her calls, for thinking letting her go was noble, for spending 4 years pretending he didn't still think about her every single day. Nicholas started the engine and drove back to Manhattan. He didn't sleep that night. The DNA test took 36 hours to process. Nicholas spent every minute of that time watching, not personally, but through cameras, through his men, through every resource he had available. Ethan handled the logistics, a private laboratory in Lower Manhattan that catered to people who valued discretion over speed. The technician arrived at Samantha's apartment building at 9 a.m, dressed like a medical courier. She brought Connor down to the lobby, holding his hand while a stranger swabbed the inside of his cheek. Nicholas watched the footage later from his office. Connor didn't cry. He asked questions the whole time. "What's that? Why do you need my spit? Is this going to the doctor?" Samantha answered each one patiently, her voice calm even though Nicholas could see tension in every line of her body. The technician left. Samantha took Connor back upstairs. Nicholas replayed the clip 3 times, studying his son's face, his gestures, the way he looked up at Samantha with complete trust. "Boss?" Ethan said from the doorway. "You need to see this." Nicholas looked up. "What?" "Her car. The Honda. I had someone check it out. And? Brake pads are worn down to nothing. Front left tire has a slow leak. Engine light's been on for 6 months according to the mechanic shop she took it to once. They told her it needed $1,200 in repairs. She never went back. Nicholas's jaw tightened. What else? Ethan stepped inside and closed the door. He set a folder on the desk. Credit report, bank statements, employment records. Everything you asked for. Nicholas opened the folder. The numbers told a story he didn't want to read but couldn't look away from. Samantha Wells earned $38,000 a year teaching art at a community center in East Williamsburg. Her rent was $1,400 a month. After utilities, groceries, and Connor's daycare, she had maybe $200 left each month, sometimes less. Her credit card had a balance of $4,000, minimum payments only. She'd applied for 3 loans in the past year. Denied every time. Nicholas closed the folder and leaned back in his chair. She's barely surviving, Ethan said quietly. I can see that. Connor's daycare is in a rough area. No security, chain link fence. I drove by this morning. There were 2 fights outside the building before 10 a.m. Nicholas's hands curled into fists on the armrests. Ethan continued. She works late 3 nights a week. Picks Connor up after dark. Walks 4 blocks to the subway with him. No car because the Honda doesn't start half the time. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand what you're walking into, Ethan said. She's not hiding him from you out of spite. She's doing the best she can with nothing. Nicholas didn't answer. Ethan left. Nicholas sat alone in the office, staring at the folder. $4,000 in debt. A car that didn't run. A child in a daycare with no security. His son. His son was living like that while Nicholas sat in a penthouse worth $8 million. The rage that filled him wasn't hot. It was cold, sharp, the kind that made decisions without emotion. He called Ethan back. Set up a meeting with her. Tomorrow. Somewhere neutral. Where? The park. Near her apartment. Noon. Ethan nodded and left again. Nicholas opened his laptop and started making lists. Things Connor would need. Things Samantha would refuse but accept eventually. A plan that didn't involve lawyers yet, because lawyers made everything worse. The DNA results came back 36 hours later. Probability of paternity, 99.9%. Nicholas stared at the document for a full minute. He'd known, of course. Known the second he saw Connor's eyes, but seeing it in writing made it real in a way nothing else had. He was a father. He had a son named Connor who loved dinosaurs and drew pictures and had no idea his entire life was about to change. Nicholas folded the paper carefully, slid it into his jacket pocket, and walked out of the office. The park near Samantha's apartment was small, crowded, filled with children and their parents. Nicholas arrived 15 minutes early. He sat on a bench near the playground and waited. Samantha appeared at noon exactly, holding Connor's hand. The boy wore a blue jacket and sneakers that looked slightly too big. He ran toward the swings the second Samantha let go of his hand. She walked over to Nicholas slowly. Her face was guarded, tired. She sat on the opposite end of the bench, leaving 2 feet of space between them. You got the results, she said. Not a question. Yes, and. Nicholas pulled the folded paper from his pocket and handed it to her. She opened it, read the single line that mattered, and closed it again. So now what? She asked. Now we talk about custody. Her shoulders tensed immediately. I already told you. I'm not taking him from you, Nicholas interrupted. But I'm not staying out of his life either. Samantha looked at him for the first time since sitting down. What does that mean? It means I want time with him. Supervised, if that makes you feel better. Neutral locations. Whatever you need to feel safe. Why would I need to feel safe? Because you haven't seen me in 4 years. And the last time you did, I signed papers ending our marriage without asking a single question. That landed like a slap. Samantha flinched. Nicholas continued, voice steady. I don't expect you to trust me. I haven't earned it. But Connor is my son, and I'm not walking away from that. You don't know him. I want to. She stared at the playground where Connor was climbing across monkey bars, his small hands gripping each rung carefully. He doesn't know you exist. Then introduce me. As what? A stranger? As a friend. For now. Samantha shook her head slowly. This is insane. You're the one who kept him from me for 4 years. Her eyes flashed. Don't start that again. I tried to reach you. You made it impossible. You tried once. Twice, she corrected sharply. And both times your secretary told me you didn't want to hear from me. So forgive me for taking the hint. Nicholas looked away, jaw tight. She was right. He'd shut her out completely. Blocked her number, refused calls, made it clear through his assistant that contact wasn't welcome. He'd done that. I'm sorry, he said quietly. Samantha blinked. What? I'm sorry. For not taking your calls. For making this harder than it had to be. She stared at him like he'd spoken a language she didn't understand. You've never apologized to me before. I should have. Silence stretched between them. On the playground, Connor slid down a slide and ran back to climb it again. If I let you spend time with him, Samantha said slowly, you don't tell him who you are. Not yet. Agreed. And it has to be places I approve. No surprises. No taking him anywhere without me. Fine. And if at any point I think this is hurting him, we stop. Nicholas turned to face her fully. I'm not going to hurt him. You don't know that. Yes, I do. They stared at each other. Samantha's eyes were the same blue he remembered. Lighter around the edges, darker near the center. He'd memorized them once. Looked into them every morning for 2 years. He'd forgotten how much he missed them. When do you want to start? She asked finally. Now. Now? Nicholas nodded toward the playground. Introduce me. Tell him I'm an old friend. Let me spend an hour with him. See how it goes. Samantha hesitated. Her fingers twisted together in her lap. A nervous habit she'd never broken. This feels too fast. It's 4 years too slow. She didn't have an answer for that. Finally she stood. 1 hour. And I stay the entire time. I wouldn't expect anything else. They walked toward the playground together. Connor spotted them coming and ran over, breathless and smiling. Mom, did you see me on the monkey bars? I went all the way across without stopping. I saw, Samantha said, crouching down to his level. You were amazing. Connor's eyes shifted to Nicholas, curious, but not afraid. Who's that? Samantha's voice stayed steady. This is Nicholas. He's an old friend of mine. Hi, Connor said simply. Nicholas crouched down too, bringing himself to Connor's height. Up close, the resemblance was overwhelming. Same nose, same chin, same exact shade of eyes. Hi, Connor, Nicholas said. His voice came out rougher than he intended. Do you like dinosaurs? Connor asked immediately. Nicholas blinked. I don't know much about them. Connor's face lit up. I can teach you. I know all of them. My favorite is the Triceratops because it has 3 horns and a big shield thing on its head. What's yours? Nicholas glanced at Samantha. She gave him a small, almost invisible nod. I don't have one yet, Nicholas said. Maybe you can help me pick. Okay, Connor said seriously. First, you have to know the categories. There's herbivores and carnivores and... He kept talking, his words tumbling over each other with the kind of enthusiasm only a 4-year-old could manage. Nicholas listened to every word. He didn't understand half of it, but he didn't care. This was his son. Talking to him, teaching him about dinosaurs. Looking at him with those eyes that were mirrors of his own. An hour passed faster than Nicholas thought possible. Connor showed him the swings, the slide, the tunnel he liked to crawl through. He introduced Nicholas to another kid named Max, who apparently also liked dinosaurs, but was wrong about which one was the fastest. Samantha stayed close the entire time, watching every interaction with the alertness of someone who didn't trust easily anymore. Nicholas didn't blame her. When the hour ended, Connor hugged Samantha's legs and looked up at Nicholas. Are you coming back? Nicholas's chest tightened. Do you want me to? Yeah. You're nice. And you didn't know anything about dinosaurs, so I have to keep teaching you. Then I'll come back. Tomorrow? Nicholas glanced at Samantha. She hesitated, then nodded. Tomorrow. Nicholas confirmed. Connor grinned and ran back to the swings one last time before they had to leave. Samantha stood next to Nicholas, arms crossed. He likes you. Is that a problem? I don't know yet. Nicholas watched Connor climb the ladder to the slide. I meant what I said. I'm not going to hurt him. Everyone says that. I'm not everyone. She looked at him then, really looked at him. No, you're not. They stood there in the October afternoon, the sounds of the playground surrounding them, the weight of 4 years pressing down between them. "Same time tomorrow?" Nicholas asked. "Same time." He nodded and walked away before he could say something he shouldn't, before he could ask questions that had no good answers. Before he could admit that 1 hour with his son had cracked something open inside him he thought he'd sealed shut years ago. Nicholas got in his car and sat there, hands on the steering wheel, not starting the engine. He'd spent 4 years building walls. 4 years convincing himself that letting Samantha go was the right choice. 4 years ignoring the part of him that wondered what might have happened if he'd fought harder. Now those 4 years felt like a prison he'd built for himself. And the key was a 4-year-old boy who loved dinosaurs and had his eyes. Nicholas started the car and drove back to Manhattan. He had work to do. The envelope arrived at Samantha's apartment on a Wednesday morning. She opened it standing in the kitchen while Connor ate cereal at the table, his legs swinging beneath the chair. Inside was a single sheet of paper, laboratory letterhead, official seal. One line that mattered: probability of paternity. 99.9%. Samantha had known. Of course she'd known. But seeing it typed out in black ink made her hands shake. "Mom, can I have more milk?" Connor asked. She folded the paper quickly and shoved it in a drawer. "Sure, baby." She poured the milk, her movements automatic. Connor went back to his cereal, humming a song from a cartoon. He had no idea the world was about to tilt. Samantha's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Today. I'm coming over at 2. She knew who it was. Nicholas arrived at her door exactly at 2 o'clock. Samantha opened it before he could knock. Connor was at daycare. They had 3 hours alone. Nicholas stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. He wore a dark gray suit, no tie, the jacket unbuttoned. He looked like he hadn't slept. Good. Neither had she. He pulled a folder from under his arm and set it on the small kitchen table. "I had my lawyer draw these up." Samantha didn't touch the folder. "What are they?" "Custody agreement. Shared. 50-50. Alternating weeks. Holidays split evenly." Her stomach dropped. "No, he's my son. He doesn't even know you." Nicholas's jaw tightened. "That's not my fault. I'm not doing this again," Samantha said, her voice rising. "You don't get to show up after 4 years and demand half his life. I'm not demanding. I'm offering a legal arrangement that protects both of us." "You mean protects you?" "It protects him," Nicholas corrected. "He deserves a father. He's had a mother for 4 years. That's been good enough so far." Nicholas took a step closer. "Has it? Really?" Samantha's face went hot. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I know what you make. I know where he goes to daycare. I know your car doesn't start half the time, and you walk him 4 blocks to the subway after dark." Her breath caught. "You've been watching me? I've been making sure my son is safe. He's not your son yet." She shot back. "A piece of paper doesn't make you a father." Nicholas's eyes went cold. "And keeping him from me doesn't make you right." They stared at each other across the tiny kitchen. Outside, a siren wailed. A dog barked. Life continued while theirs fractured. Samantha broke first. She sat down heavily in one of the chairs, her hands covering her face. "I can't do this." Nicholas didn't sit. He stood with his arms crossed, watching her. "You don't have a choice. There's always a choice." "Not when it comes to him." She looked up at him. "Why now? Why do you suddenly care?" "I've always cared. You signed divorce papers without asking why I wanted out. You blocked my calls. You made it clear you didn't want anything to do with me. That was different." "How?" Nicholas exhaled slowly. "Because I thought I was protecting you." Samantha laughed, bitter and sharp. "Protecting me? From what?" "From my world. From everything that comes with being connected to me. I didn't ask for protection. I asked for a partner, and I gave you freedom instead." "I didn't want freedom," she said quietly. "I wanted you." The words hung in the air between them. Nicholas's expression didn't change, but his hands unclenched slightly. "That doesn't matter anymore," he said finally. "No, it doesn't." Samantha stood and pushed the folder back toward him. "I'm not signing anything." "Not yet." "Then what do you want?" She thought about it. About Connor. About the life they'd built. About the man standing in her kitchen who used to be her husband and was now a stranger. Time, she said. I want you to spend time with him. Get to know him. Let him get to know you. If it works, we talk about custody. If it doesn't, you walk away. I'm not walking away. Then it better work. Nicholas picked up the folder. Where and when? The park near here, tomorrow, 3 o'clock. I'll be there the whole time. Fine. He turned to leave, then stopped. What does he like? What? Connor, what does he like? What should I know? Samantha hesitated. This was the first time Nicholas had asked her anything about their son that wasn't legal or medical. Dinosaurs, she said. He's obsessed. He can name at least 20 of them. And he draws. Constantly. Mostly dinosaurs, but sometimes other things. He's afraid of thunder. Loves mac and cheese. Hates carrots unless you hide them in something. Nicholas listened to every word. Anything else? He's a good kid. Sweet. Trusts people too easily. Asks a million questions. He gets that from you. Samantha's throat tightened. Yeah, he does. Nicholas left without saying goodbye. The next day, Samantha brought Connor to the park at 3 o'clock. He wore his favorite shirt, the one with a T-Rex on the front. His shoes lit up when he walked. He held her hand and chattered about a butterfly he'd seen at daycare. Nicholas was already there, sitting on a bench near the swings. He stood when he saw them. Connor stopped walking. Who's that? Remember I told you we were meeting someone today? Samantha said. That's Nicholas. He's a friend. Your friend? Yes. Does he like dinosaurs? I don't know. You'll have to ask him. Connor considered this, then let go of her hand and walked over to Nicholas. Samantha followed, her heart beating too fast. Hi, Connor said, tilting his head back to look up at Nicholas. Do you like dinosaurs? Nicholas crouched down to Connor's level. Up close, the resemblance was impossible to miss. Same eyes, same chin, same serious expression when thinking. I don't know much about them, Nicholas admitted. Connor's face lit up. I can teach you. I know everything. Well, not everything, but a lot. My favorite is Triceratops. What's yours? I don't have one. You have to pick one. Everyone has a favorite. Nicholas glanced at Samantha. She nodded slightly, giving permission for whatever came next. Then, I guess I need help choosing, Nicholas said. Okay. First, you need to know the categories. There's plant eaters and meat eaters. The plant eaters are called herbivores. The meat eaters are carnivores. Which one do you like better? I'm not sure. Do you like eating meat or vegetables? Meat. Connor nodded seriously. Then you're probably a carnivore person. The biggest carnivore was Spinosaurus. It was even bigger than T-Rex. Most people don't know that. I didn't know that. Now you do. They talked for 20 minutes straight. Connor explained dinosaurs with the confidence of someone who'd memorized every book in the library. Nicholas listened like it was the most important conversation he'd ever had. Samantha stood nearby, watching. She'd expected awkwardness, silence, maybe even tears from Connor when faced with a stranger. Instead, her son was lecturing a Mafia boss about the differences between Jurassic and Cretaceous periods. Can we go on the swings? Connor asked suddenly. If your mom says it's okay, Nicholas said. Connor turned to Samantha. Can we? Sure. Connor grabbed Nicholas's hand without hesitation and pulled him toward the swings. Nicholas looked down at the small hand in his, and for a second, his entire expression cracked open. Samantha saw it. The shock, the emotion, the realization. This was his son, holding his hand, trusting him. At the swings, Connor climbed onto one and started pumping his legs. Push me! Nicholas stood behind him and gave a gentle push. Then another. Connor went higher, laughing. Higher! Nicholas pushed harder. Connor shrieked with delight. An hour passed. Then another. Connor showed Nicholas the slide, the monkey bars, the tunnel he liked to crawl through. He introduced Nicholas to 2 other kids and explained that one of them, Max, was wrong about which dinosaur could run the fastest. It's obviously Gallimimus, Connor insisted. Nicholas had no idea what that meant, but nodded anyway. The sun started to set. The park emptied slowly. Samantha finally called Connor over. "We need to go home, baby." "Already? It's almost dinner time." Connor ran back to Nicholas. "Are you coming tomorrow?" Nicholas crouched down again. "Do you want me to?" "Yeah." "You didn't finish learning about dinosaurs. There's like 100 more I need to tell you about. Then I'll come back." "Promise?" Nicholas hesitated, then nodded. "Promise." Connor threw his arms around Nicholas's legs in a sudden, impulsive hug. Nicholas froze. His hands hovered in the air for a second, before slowly, carefully settling on Connor's small back. The hug lasted maybe 5 seconds. Then Connor pulled away, waved, and ran to Samantha. "Bye, Nicholas." "Bye, Connor." Samantha took Connor's hand. They walked toward the park exit. She glanced back once and saw Nicholas still standing there, frozen in place, staring after them. Ethan Rossi stepped out from where he'd been waiting near the cars. He'd watched the entire thing from a distance. He walked over to Nicholas slowly. "Boss?" Nicholas didn't respond. "You okay?" Nicholas's voice came out rough. "He hugged me. I saw. He doesn't even know me. Kids are like that. They trust easy." Nicholas finally moved. He stood and turned away from the playground. His face looked different. Younger somehow. Vulnerable in a way Ethan had never seen in 8 years of working together. "Get the car," Nicholas said quietly. Ethan nodded and walked away. Nicholas stood alone in the park as the last light faded. His son had hugged him. His son, who loved dinosaurs and had his eyes and trusted him without question. 4 years. He'd missed 4 years of this, and he was never missing another day. Nicholas attended the meeting with the Bianchi family on a Thursday evening. The restaurant they chose was in Tribeca, expensive and private, the kind of place where business happened over wine that cost more per bottle than most people made in a month. Anthony Bianchi was already seated when Nicholas arrived. Mid-50s, graying hair, a smile that never reached his eyes. He stood and shook Nicholas's hand. "Nicholas, good to see you." "Anthony." They sat. Ethan stood near the door, hands clasped in front of him, watching everything. The conversation started with business, territory lines in Queens, a shipping route through New Jersey, profit splits on a construction deal, standard negotiations that Nicholas handled with half his attention. Then, Anthony leaned back in his chair and said, "I saw you in the park the other day." Nicholas went very still. "Which park?" "The one in Williamsburg, near the bridge." Anthony swirled his wine. "You were with a woman. Blonde. Pretty. And a little boy." Every instinct Nicholas had sharpened instantly. He kept his face neutral. "So?" "So nothing. Just surprised, that's all. Didn't know you were thinking about family." "I'm not." "Then who's the kid?" Nicholas took a drink of water, buying time. Across the room, Ethan's posture had changed. Tighter, alert. "A friend's son," Nicholas said smoothly. "I was doing a favor." Anthony nodded slowly. "Right, a favor." 2 other men at the table, both associates of Bianchi, exchanged glances. One of them, a younger guy named Vincent, smirked. "Some favor. Kid had your eyes, boss." Nicholas's hand tightened on his glass. "You were watching that closely?" "We were in the area," Vincent said with a shrug. "Couldn't help but notice." "Notice what?" "That the kid looked just like you." The table went quiet. Anthony set his wine down carefully. "Vincent, shut up." "I'm just saying." "I said shut up." Vincent fell silent, but the damage was done. Nicholas could see it in their faces. The curiosity, the calculation, the understanding that they'd stumbled onto something valuable. Information in their world was currency, and they'd just found a gold mine. Nicholas finished the meeting quickly. Business concluded. Handshakes exchanged. He walked out with Ethan at his side. The second they were in the car, Ethan spoke. "That was bad. I know. They made you. And if Bianchi knows, everyone will know by tomorrow." Nicholas stared out the window at the city lights blurring past. "Were we followed to the park?" "No. I swept for tails every time. They must have had someone in the area by coincidence. There are no coincidences." Ethan pulled out his phone and started typing rapidly. "I'll find out who was there. Get photos if they took any. Do it fast. 20 minutes later, Ethan's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen and swore under his breath. What? Nicholas demanded. Ethan turned the phone toward him. On the screen were 3 photos. Nicholas and Connor at the swings. Nicholas crouching down talking to Connor. Nicholas and Samantha standing together while Connor played in the background. The photos were clear, professional, taken with a telephoto lens from across the street. Where did these come from? Nicholas asked, his voice deadly quiet. A contact in Bianchi's organization. He says they've been circulating since yesterday. Who else has seen them? Half the families in the city by now. Nicholas closed his eyes briefly. This was exactly what he'd feared. Exactly why he'd kept his distance from relationships, from attachments, from anything that could be used against him. But Connor wasn't just anything. Connor was his son. And now everyone knew it. The Bratva, Nicholas said. The Russian syndicate that made old-school mob families look almost polite. Ethan nodded grimly. They'll move fast. Dmitry Volkov has been looking for leverage against you for months. This hands it to him on a silver platter. How long do we have? Maybe 48 hours before they make a play. Maybe less. Nicholas pulled out his phone and dialed Samantha's number. She answered on the second ring. Hello? It's me. We need to talk. Now. Nicholas, it's 8 o'clock. Connor's getting ready for bed. This can't wait. Something in his voice must have registered because her tone changed instantly. What happened? I'm coming to you. Be ready. He hung up before she could argue. The drive to Brooklyn took 18 minutes. Nicholas didn't wait for Ethan this time. He went alone, moving fast, his mind already 3 steps ahead. Samantha opened the door wearing pajama pants and an old sweater. Her hair was damp from a shower. She took one look at his face and stepped aside. Connor's in his room, she said quietly. Nicholas walked to the small kitchen table and set his phone down. He pulled up the photos and turned the screen toward her. Samantha went pale. What is this? Someone was watching us, at the park. They took these and sent them to half the crime families in New York. Her hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God. There's a Russian organization, Bratva. They've been trying to take territory from me for the last year. They'll use this. Use what? Connor. Nicholas's voice came out harder than he intended. They'll use him to get to me. Samantha sank into a chair. I don't understand. How would they? Kidnapping, threats. Anything that forces me to negotiate. He leaned forward, hands flat on the table. They won't hurt him if they can avoid it. He's only valuable alive, but they won't hesitate to take him if they get the chance. This is insane. This is my world. Then maybe you shouldn't be in his life, Samantha said, her voice breaking. Nicholas flinched like she'd slapped him. It's too late for that. They know about him now. Staying away won't protect him anymore. So what do? You move, tonight, to my property on Long Island. It's secure. Guards, cameras. No one gets in or out without clearance. Samantha shook her head immediately. No, absolutely not. Samantha, I'm not moving into your house. I'm not putting Connor in that world. He's already in it, Nicholas said flatly. The second those photos started circulating, he became a target. Moving gives us time to neutralize the threat. Neutralize how? That's my problem. Your problem is keeping Connor safe until I handle it. Samantha stood abruptly and paced to the window. Outside, the street was dark except for a few streetlights. A car passed. Normal life. Continuing. How long? She asked without turning around. I don't know. A week, maybe 2. And then what? Then you can go back to your life. She turned to face him. What if I say no? Nicholas's jaw tightened. Then I'll get a court order. Emergency custody based on safety concerns. I have lawyers who can make that happen in 6 hours. You wouldn't. Try me. They stared at each other across the small apartment. Samantha's hands were shaking. Nicholas could see tears in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. I hate you, she whispered. I know. This is exactly why I left. I know that too. She wiped her eyes roughly. If we do this, I have rules. Connor doesn't leave my sight. He doesn't know what's happening. And the second the threat is gone, we leave. Agreed. And you don't get to make decisions about his life without talking to me first. Fine. Samantha took a shaky breath. How soon do we need to go? Now. Tonight. My men are already on their way to help pack. That fast? I'm not taking chances with him. Something in his voice made Samantha pause. She looked at Nicholas, really looked at him, and saw something she'd never seen during their marriage. Fear. Real, raw fear. Not for himself. For Connor. You're scared, she said quietly. Nicholas didn't deny it. Yes. I've never seen you scared of anything. I've never had a son before. The admission hung between them. Samantha's anger didn't disappear, but it softened slightly. She nodded once. Okay. We'll go. But I need to make a phone call first. To who? My father. He'll worry if I disappear. Nicholas hesitated, then nodded. Make it fast. And don't tell him where you're going. Samantha pulled out her phone and stepped into the hallway. Nicholas heard her voice, muffled through the door. Brief. Tense. She came back 2 minutes later. He's not happy. Can he keep it quiet? He lives in Florida. He won't tell anyone. A knock came at the door. Ethan entered with 3 other men, all carrying boxes and duffel bags. We're ready, boss. Nicholas nodded. Pack everything she and the boy need. Clothes, toys, school stuff. We move in 30 minutes. The men got to work immediately, efficient and silent. Samantha watched them invade her small apartment, packing up her life. This is surreal. It's temporary. You keep saying that. Because it's true. Connor's door opened. He stumbled out, rubbing his eyes. Mom? What's happening? Samantha rushed to him and crouched down. Hey, baby, we're going on a little trip. Where? To Nicholas's house. Remember Nicholas? From the park? Connor brightened immediately. The dinosaur guy? Yeah, the dinosaur guy. Is he coming? He'll be there. Cool. Can I bring my T-Rex? You can bring all your dinosaurs. Connor ran back to his room, suddenly wide awake and excited. Samantha stood slowly, her eyes meeting Nicholas's. He thinks this is an adventure. Let him think that. And when he asks why we can't go home, we'll figure it out. The packing took 25 minutes. Ethan and his men loaded everything into 2 black SUVs parked outside. Samantha carried Connor down the stairs, his favorite stuffed dinosaur tucked under his arm. Nicholas waited by the car. Connor waved at him sleepily. Hi, Nicholas. Hi, Connor. Ready for an adventure? Uh-huh. Samantha buckled Connor into the back seat. He was asleep before they left Brooklyn. The drive to Long Island was silent. Samantha stared out the window, watching the city give way to suburbs, then darkness. Nicholas drove, his hands steady on the wheel, his mind already working through contingencies. When they arrived at the property, Samantha saw the full scope of what she'd agreed to. High walls, security gates, cameras everywhere, guards patrolling the perimeter. It wasn't a house, it was a fortress. And for the first time since seeing those photos, Samantha understood exactly how much danger Connor was in. The property gates opened automatically as Nicholas's SUV approached. Samantha watched through the window as they passed through 2 separate checkpoints, each manned by armed guards who nodded at Nicholas without speaking. The house itself appeared suddenly through a line of trees. 3 stories, stone and glass, lights glowing from several windows. It looked more like a modern museum than a home. This is where you live? Samantha asked quietly. Yes. Connor stirred in the back seat, still half asleep. Are we there? We're here, Nicholas said. The car stopped near the front entrance. Ethan was already waiting, along with 2 other men Samantha didn't recognize. They began unloading boxes immediately. Nicholas opened Samantha's door. She climbed out, then reached back for Connor. He wrapped his arms around her neck, burying his face in her shoulder. Come on, Nicholas said. I'll show you your rooms. Samantha followed him inside. The entrance hall had marble floors and a chandelier that probably cost more than her entire apartment. Everything was clean, modern, expensive. It felt cold. They took the stairs to the 2nd floor. Nicholas led them down a wide hallway to a set of double doors. This is yours, he said, pushing the doors open. Samantha stepped inside and stopped. The suite was enormous. Living area with a couch and television. Bedroom with a king-sized bed. Bathroom with a tub big enough for 3 people. And through another door, a smaller bedroom clearly meant for a child, already furnished with a bed, desk, and bookshelf. Connor can sleep in there, Nicholas said. Or with you. Whatever makes him comfortable. Samantha set Connor down. He looked around with wide eyes. Is this a hotel? He asked. No, baby. This is Nicholas's house. We're staying here for a little while. How long? I'm not sure yet. Connor walked into the smaller bedroom and gasped. Mom, look. There's a dinosaur lamp. Samantha followed him and saw a lamp shaped like a brachiosaurus on the bedside table. Brand new. Clearly bought recently. She turned to Nicholas, who stood in the doorway. You bought that? I thought he'd like it. When? Yesterday. After the park. Something twisted in Samantha's chest. She didn't know what to do with that information. Connor was already exploring, opening drawers, looking in the closet. Can I sleep in here tonight? If you want to, Samantha said. I want to. Nicholas checked his watch. It's late. You should both get some rest. If you need anything, there's a phone on the nightstand. Press 1 and it goes directly to security. Press 2 and it comes to me. Where's your room? Samantha asked. 3rd floor. That's far. I'll be here in 30 seconds if you need me. Their eyes met. Samantha saw the truth in his face. He meant it. Whatever else had broken between them, his commitment to Connor's safety was absolute. Okay, she said quietly. Nicholas left, closing the doors behind him. Samantha helped Connor change into pajamas and brush his teeth. He climbed into the new bed, still holding his stuffed T-Rex, and looked up at her. This place is cool, he said. It is. Are we really on an adventure? She forced a smile. Yeah, baby. We really are. Can I see Nicholas tomorrow? Probably. Good. I want to show him my drawings. Connor's eyes closed. He was asleep in minutes. Samantha sat on the edge of his bed for a long time, watching him breathe. The dinosaur lamp cast soft shadows on the walls. Outside, she could hear footsteps. Guards patrolling. This was insane. Her entire life had been packed into boxes and moved to a fortress in Long Island. All because of photos. Because people knew about Connor. Because Nicholas's world had caught up to them. She stood finally and walked to the window. The ground stretched out below, lit by security lights. She counted 6 guards visible from this window alone. Probably more she couldn't see. Samantha pulled the curtains closed and went to bed. But sleep didn't come easily. The next 3 days followed a pattern. Nicholas hired a private tutor for Connor, a gentlewoman named Ms. Carter who came every morning at 9 and worked with him for 3 hours. Connor liked her immediately. She brought workbooks about dinosaurs and let him draw while they practiced letters. Samantha tried to establish some normalcy. She set up a small studio in an empty room on the 3rd floor after Nicholas offered the space. Her art supplies had been packed carefully, and seeing them arranged on new shelves helped. A little, but the walls still felt like they were closing in. Nicholas appeared at random times throughout the day. Never intrusive, but always present. He'd stop by Connor's lessons and listen for a few minutes. He'd check in with Samantha while she painted, asking if she needed anything. He was careful not to push, not to demand, but his presence was constant. Connor adapted faster than Samantha expected. He loved the pool and begged to swim every afternoon. Nicholas had it heated despite the October weather. He loved the library with its floor-to-ceiling shelves. Nicholas showed him which books were about dinosaurs, and Connor spent hours looking at pictures. On the 4th night, everything changed. Samantha woke to the sound of Connor crying. She bolted upright immediately, disoriented in the unfamiliar room. Then she heard it again. A small, frightened sob from the next room. She ran to him. Connor was sitting up in bed, tears streaming down his face, clutching his T-Rex. Baby, what's wrong? Bad dream, he whispered. Come here. She lifted him out of bed and carried him to her room. He was shaking. She climbed into bed with him, pulling the blankets over both of them. You're okay, she murmured, stroking his hair. It was just a dream. You're safe. There were monsters." "No monsters here, I promise." Connor buried his face against her chest. His breathing gradually slowed. After a few minutes, he was asleep again, one small hand fisted in her shirt. Samantha held him, her own heart still pounding. A soft knock came at the door. She froze. "Who is it?" "Nicholas. It's 3 a.m. "I know." The monitors picked up movement and crying. "Is everything okay?" Samantha hesitated, then said quietly, "Come in." The door opened. Nicholas stepped inside, wearing black sweatpants and a t-shirt. His hair was messy, like he'd been asleep. He looked at the bed where Samantha held Connor. "Nightmare?" he asked, keeping his voice low. "Yes. Is he all right?" "He's fine, just scared." Nicholas moved closer hesitantly. "Can I?" Samantha nodded. He sat on the edge of the bed, careful not to disturb Connor. In the dim light from the bathroom, she could see his face clearly. The concern there. The fear. "Does he get them often?" Nicholas asked. "Not usually. Maybe once a month." "What are they about?" "Monsters. Sometimes thunder. Kid stuff." Nicholas looked down at Connor, sleeping peacefully now against Samantha's chest. "He looks so small." "He is small. He's 4. "I know. I just mean..." Nicholas trailed off. "I missed so much." Samantha didn't have an answer for that. They sat in silence for a moment. Outside, the wind picked up. Tree branches scraped against the window. "Why did you really leave?" Nicholas asked suddenly. "The real reason." Samantha's throat tightened. "You know why. Tell me anyway." She adjusted Connor carefully, making sure he stayed asleep. Then she looked at Nicholas. "Because you made the decision for both of us," she said quietly. "You decided I couldn't handle your world. You decided it was too dangerous. You decided I was better off without you. And you never once asked what I wanted." Nicholas's jaw flexed. "I was trying to protect you. I didn't need protection. I needed you. My world kills people, Samantha. You have no idea what I deal with, what I've seen, what I've done. Then tell me." "No. See? That's the problem. You make all the choices. You decide what I can handle and what I can't. You push me away from my own good and expect me to just accept it." Nicholas looked away. "Your father agreed with me." Samantha's breath caught. "What? Your father?" "He came to me 2 weeks before the divorce. Said I was putting you in danger every day we stayed married. That you deserved a normal life. A safe life. He begged me to let you go." The words hit her like ice water. "My father said that?" "Yes. And you listened to him? Instead of me? He was right. Look at where we are now. Look at Connor sleeping in a fortress because someone took photos. This is exactly what he was afraid of." "But it was still my choice," Samantha said, her voice breaking. "My life. My risk to take. You and my father decided together that I couldn't make my own decisions." Nicholas turned back to her. "I thought I was doing the right thing. You were doing the easy thing. It's easier to walk away than fight for something. Easier to convince yourself you're noble than admit you were scared." "Scared of what?" "Of us. Of letting someone see you. Of actually being vulnerable." The accusation hung between them. Nicholas's hands curled into fists on his thighs. "You don't know what you're talking about," he said. But his voice lacked conviction. "Yes, I do. Because I was married to you for 2 years, Nicholas. I saw how you shut down every time something got too real. How you buried yourself in work instead of talking to me. How you kept entire parts of your life locked away like I couldn't be trusted with them. It wasn't about trust. Then what was it about?" He didn't answer. Connor shifted in Samantha's arms, making a small noise. Both of them froze until he settled again. "I should go," Nicholas said quietly. "Yeah, you should." He stood, but didn't move toward the door. He looked at Connor one more time, then at Samantha. "For what it's worth," he said, "I never stopped thinking about you." Before she could respond, his phone vibrated in his pocket. He pulled it out, and his entire expression changed. "What is it?" Samantha asked. "Security alert." Perimeter breach on the east side. What does that mean? It means someone tried to get in. Nicholas was already moving toward the door. Stay here. Lock the door behind me. Don't open it for anyone except me or Ethan. Nicholas. Lock the door, Samantha. He was gone. Samantha sat frozen for 3 heartbeats, then carefully moved Connor to the center of the bed and ran to lock the door. Her hands shook as she turned the deadbolt. Outside, she heard running footsteps. Voices shouting. Then nothing. She returned to the bed and pulled Connor against her, her heart hammering. The adventure had just become real. The cameras caught movement at 3:17 in the morning. Nicholas was already awake when the alarm came through his phone, a silent vibration against the nightstand. He grabbed it, saw the alert from the east perimeter, and was out of bed in seconds. Ethan met him in the hallway, weapon already drawn. 3 hostiles. They cut the fence near the service gate. Where are they now? Moving toward the main house. Team 2 is engaging. Nicholas took the stairs 2 at a time. The control room was on the first floor, tucked behind the kitchen. 6 monitors lined the wall, each showing different angles of the property. On screen 3, he saw them. 3 figures in dark clothing moving fast along the tree line. Stop them before they reach the lawn, Nicholas said into his radio. His men moved like shadows. 2 guards intercepted the intruders near the garage. Gunfire cracked through the night air. Brief, controlled. Then silence. Ethan checked his tablet. 2 down. Third one headed north toward the service road. Send Delta team. Cut him off. On the monitor, Nicholas watched his men fan out. The 3rd intruder ran, but there was nowhere to go. The property was surrounded. 30 seconds later, the runner went down. All 3 neutralized, Ethan reported. Nicholas stared at the screens, his jaw tight. Get them off my property. Search them first. I want to know who sent them. Already on it. Nicholas stayed in the control room until the sun came up. By then, the bodies were gone, the fence repaired, and the only evidence of the attack was a small bloodstain on the grass that would be gone by afternoon. Ethan returned with a folder. Mercenaries. All 3 had Russian cigarettes and burner phones. One had a photo. He set the photo on the desk. It was grainy, taken from a distance. Samantha and Connor at the park. The same one Nicholas had seen before. They were professionals, Ethan said. Trained. This wasn't reconnaissance. They were mapping the property for a real assault. How long do we have? Days. Maybe a week. Nicholas leaned back in his chair. Increase perimeter patrols. I want someone on every corner of this property 24 hours. No gaps. Done. And no one tells Samantha the details, just that we had a security incident. Ethan raised an eyebrow. You think she won't figure it out? I think she doesn't need to know 3 men died trying to get to her son in the middle of the night. Your call, boss. Nicholas rubbed his face. He hadn't slept more than 3 hours in the past week. Coffee wasn't helping anymore. Nothing was. One more thing, Ethan said. The interrogation before we put down the 3rd guy. He said they were hired through an intermediary. No direct contact with Bratva Command. But the money trail points to Volkov. Then we hit him back. When? Soon. I need to finalize the plan first. Ethan left. Nicholas sat alone with the monitors, watching Samantha's window on screen 5. The light was off. She was probably still asleep. Connor, too. They had no idea how close it had been. By the time Samantha woke, the property looked exactly as it had the day before. Guards patrolling. Birds singing. Morning light filtering through the trees. She found Connor already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with a bowl of cereal. Maria was humming while she wiped down the counter. Morning, baby, Samantha said, kissing the top of Connor's head. Morning. Can I swim today? Maybe this afternoon. Nicholas said he'd teach me to dive. Samantha glanced at Maria, who smiled. Mr. Pellagrini was down here early. He mentioned something about the pool. Where is he now? His office, I think. Samantha poured herself coffee and sat across from Connor. He was telling her about a dream he'd had involving a dinosaur that could fly and breathe underwater at the same time when Ethan appeared in the doorway. Morning, he said. Samantha, can I talk to you for a minute? She stood. Sure. They stepped into the hallway. Ethan kept his voice low. We had a security incident last night. Nothing made it to the house. Everyone's safe. But Nicholas wanted you to know we're tightening protocols. What kind of incident? Perimeter breach. We handled it. Handled it how? Ethan's expression didn't change. The way we handle all threats. She understood. How many? 3. Her stomach turned. And there, gone. Samantha looked back toward the kitchen where Connor was still eating cereal, completely unaware. Does Nicholas think they'll try again? Yes. When? We don't know. That's why we're increasing security. She nodded slowly. Okay. Thank you for telling me. Nicholas wanted to tell you himself, but he's been in meetings all morning. It's fine. Ethan left. Samantha stood in the hallway for a long moment before returning to the kitchen. She forced a smile when Connor looked up. Can we go to the pool now? He asked. After your lesson with Ms. Carter. But I want to swim. Later, she said firmly. Connor pouted but didn't argue. The rest of the morning passed in a blur. Ms. Carter arrived at 9 and took Connor to the library. Samantha retreated to her makeshift studio on the 3rd floor. But she couldn't focus. Every noise made her jump. Every footstep in the hallway pulled her attention from the canvas. She finally gave up and went looking for Nicholas. She found him in his office, surrounded by papers and maps. He looked up when she knocked. Come in. She closed the door behind her. Ethan told me about last night. I was going to tell you myself. Were you? Or were you going to let me find out when the next group shows up? Nicholas stood. I didn't want you to panic. I'm not panicking. I'm angry. At me? At this whole situation. At the fact that men with guns tried to get into this house while my son was sleeping. They didn't get close. That's not the point, she said. The point is they tried. And they'll try again. And eventually, one of these attempts might work. Nicholas walked around the desk. That's not going to happen. You can't promise that. Yes, I can. How? She demanded. How can you possibly promise that when you're outnumbered and outgunned by an entire criminal organization? Because I know how to fight them. And I know how to win. She shook her head. This isn't a game, Nicholas. This is Connor's life. I know that. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're playing chess with our son as one of the pieces. His jaw tightened. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Her voice rose despite her efforts to stay calm. Nothing about this is fair. Not for me. Not for Connor. Not for anyone except you and your world. I didn't choose this, he said. Yes, you did. You chose this life. You chose this world. And now Connor and I are paying the price for it. Silence filled the office. Nicholas's hands curled into fists at his sides. If you want to leave, he said quietly, I won't stop you. You're lying. You'd use every lawyer and every connection you have to keep Connor here. No, he said. I wouldn't. If you really want to go, if you think you can keep him safer somewhere else, then go. She stared at him. You're serious. Yes. What changed? I did, he said. I spent 4 years thinking I was protecting you by letting you go. Now I realize I was just protecting myself. I'm not making that mistake again. Samantha's throat tightened. I'm not leaving. Not when people are actively trying to hurt him. But I need you to be honest with me. No more sugarcoating. No more protecting me from the truth. Agreed. And you need to tell me your plan. For stopping this. For making it safe again. Nicholas walked back to the desk and picked up one of the maps. I'm going after Volkov directly. His organization runs out of 3 main locations in Brooklyn and Queens. If I hit them simultaneously, it destabilizes his entire operation. And then what? Then I make it clear that coming after my family has consequences. Consequences, she repeated. You mean more killing? Yes. She looked away. I don't know how to reconcile this version of you with the man I married. They're the same person. No, the man I married hid this from me. This version is showing me exactly who he is. Which do you prefer? I don't know yet. Connor's voice echoed from somewhere in the house. Samantha heard him laughing. The sound was so normal, so innocent, that it made her chest ache. I need to go check on him, she said. Nicholas nodded. Samantha. She turned back. I meant what I said. If you think leaving is safer, I'll let you go. I heard you the first time." She left before he could say anything else. The days that followed were strange. Life continued in the house as if nothing had happened. Connor had lessons. Samantha taught her remote classes. Maria cooked meals. Guards patrolled. But underneath, tension simmered. Nicholas spent more time with Connor, as if making up for lost years all at once. He taught him chess in the library, showed him how to swim properly in the pool, sat with him during dinner, and listened to endless stories about dinosaurs. Samantha watched from the edges, torn between gratitude that Connor had a father and fear of what that father represented. One afternoon, she found Nicholas and Connor in the pool. Connor was perched on Nicholas's shoulders, laughing as Nicholas walked deeper into the water. "Jump when I say go," Nicholas instructed. "Okay. Ready? Go." Connor launched himself off Nicholas's shoulders and splashed into the water. He came up grinning, hair plastered to his head. "Again." "Again?" Nicholas laughed. "You're going to wear me out." "You're strong. You can do it." Nicholas lifted Connor back onto his shoulders. "One more time. Then we take a break." Samantha sat on the edge of the pool, feet dangling in the water. "You're good with him." Nicholas glanced at her. "He makes it easy. Most 4-year-olds don't. Most 4-year-olds aren't him." Connor jumped again, this time with more confidence. He swam to the edge and climbed out. "Mom, did you see?" "I saw. You're getting brave. Nicholas taught me." "I noticed." Connor ran off to grab a towel. Nicholas swam to the edge and rested his arms on the side of the pool. "He trusts you," Samantha said. "Is that a problem?" "I don't know yet. Ask me when this is over." "It will be over soon." "How soon?" "Days. A week at most." She studied his face. Water dripped from his hair. His eyes were serious, focused. "What happens during that week?" "Nothing you need to worry about. Stop protecting me from things I'm already living through." He pulled himself out of the pool and sat beside her. "I'm going to Brooklyn. There's a meeting Volkov's people set up. They think it's neutral ground. It's not. You're walking into a trap." "I'm walking into a trap I set. That doesn't make it safer. It makes it controlled." She shook her head. "You can't control everything, Nicholas. I can control this. And if you're wrong, then Ethan takes over. Everything's arranged. You and Connor will be protected." "I don't want Ethan. I want you to come back." The words came out before she could stop them. Nicholas turned to look at her. Water dripped onto the concrete between them. "You want me to come back?" he repeated slowly. She looked away. "For Connor." "Right. For Connor." Neither of them spoke for a moment. Connor reappeared with a towel wrapped around his shoulders like a cape. "I'm a superhero now," he announced. "What's your power?" Nicholas asked. "I can swim really fast and I know everything about dinosaurs. That's a pretty good combination." Connor ran off again, cape flying behind him. Samantha stood. "I should get him dried off before he catches cold." Nicholas caught her wrist gently. "Samantha." She stopped but didn't turn around. "I'll come back," he said quietly. "I promise. Don't make promises you can't keep. I've never broken one to you. You broke our marriage vows." He released her wrist. "That's fair." She walked away without looking back. That evening, after Connor was asleep, Samantha couldn't settle. She wandered the house restlessly, ending up in the library. The lights were off except for one small lamp near the window. Nicholas was there, sitting in one of the leather chairs, a glass of whiskey in his hand. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "No, me neither." She sat in the chair across from him. "When do you leave?" "Tomorrow night." "That soon?" "The window is closing. If I wait too long, they'll move operations." "And you're sure about this?" "As sure as I can be." She pulled her knees up to her chest. "I hate this." "I know. I hate that Connor is growing attached to you right when you might not come back." "I'm coming back." "You can't know that." "Yes," he said. "I can, because I have something worth coming back to now." She looked at him. In the dim light, his face was softer. Younger. He looked like the man she'd married, before everything got complicated. "When did you become sentimental?" she asked. "The second I saw him," Nicholas said. The second I saw those eyes and knew he was mine. He's not a possession. I know, but he's mine to protect, mine to raise, mine to love. He paused. If you'll let me. I don't think I have a choice anymore. You always have a choice. Then I choose to let you try, she said. But if you die tomorrow, I will never forgive you. Noted. They sat in silence for a while. Outside, guards moved past the windows. The world kept turning. What happens if you succeed? Samantha asked. If you take down Volkov and we're safe again. What then? Then we figure out what normal looks like. Normal, she repeated. With you, if you want. I don't know what I want. That's okay, he said. You don't have to know yet. She stood. I should go to bed. Samantha. She turned. Thank you, he said, for trusting me with him, even when you don't want to. I don't have a choice about that either. Yes, you do. You could have run, could have disappeared, could have fought me in court. But you didn't. I stayed for Connor. I know, he said, but you still stayed. She left without answering. Upstairs, she checked on Connor. He was sprawled across his bed, T-Rex clutched to his chest, breathing deep and even. She stood in the doorway watching him for a long time. Tomorrow, Nicholas would walk into danger, and all she could do was wait. Ethan arrived at the house just before noon with final intelligence. Nicholas met him in the control room, away from Samantha and Connor. Volkov confirmed the meeting, Ethan said, spreading a blueprint across the desk. Warehouse in Red Hook, 8 o'clock tonight. He's bringing 6 men, maybe more outside. Nicholas studied the blueprint. The warehouse was old, 3 stories with limited exits. Our advantage? We control the building next door, rooftop access, clear sightlines into every window. Ethan tapped the paper. Team Alpha positions here and here. Team Bravo takes the ground floor entrance. You go in through the front with me and 2 others. Volkov expects a negotiation. He's an idiot if he thinks you're there to talk. Nicholas allowed a thin smile. Let him think it until the last second. What about cleanup? Federal contact is ready. Agent Morrison owes me 3 favors. He'll take custody of whoever survives. Process them through channels that keep our names out of it. Ethan nodded. Charges? Racketeering? Weapons trafficking? Conspiracy? Morrison has files ready to go. Volkov and his lieutenants will be in federal custody by midnight. No bail. No chance of retribution. And if something goes wrong? Nicholas looked up. Then you get Samantha and Connor out of the state. Accounts are already set up. New identities if necessary. You have the documents? In the safe. But boss, it's not going to come to that. Probably not. But I don't take chances with them. Ethan studied him for a moment. You really changed. What do you mean? A year ago, you wouldn't have cared this much about exit strategies. You'd have walked in with a gun and handled whatever came. A year ago, I didn't have a son. Or an ex-wife you're still in love with. Nicholas's expression hardened. Focus on the job. I am focused. I'm just saying what everyone else is thinking. Then everyone else should mind their business. Ethan smiled slightly. Yes, boss. They spent the next hour reviewing positions, confirming team assignments, running through contingencies. By 2 o'clock, everything was set. Nicholas found Samantha in her studio. She was painting, but the brush strokes were distracted, unfocused. She turned when he entered. Is it time? She asked. Not yet. I leave at 6. She set the brush down. Connor asked where you were going tonight. What did you tell him? That you had work. He wanted to know if you'd be back for breakfast. What did you say? I said yes. Her voice cracked slightly. Was I lying? No. She wrapped her arms around herself. I don't know how to do this. How to just sit here and wait. You've done harder things. Like what? Raising our son alone for 4 years. She laughed once, sharp and bitter. That wasn't harder. That was just lonely. Nicholas stepped closer. I know you don't want to hear this right now, but I need to say it anyway. Then say it. If something happens to me tonight, Ethan has instructions. You and Connor will be taken care of. Financially, legally, everything. You won't have to worry. I don't care about money, Nicholas. I know, but I care about making sure you have options. Options, she repeated. That's what you think I need? It's what I can give you. She turned away, staring at the half-finished painting. It was the one inspired by Connor's drawing, the dinosaur city, the impossible architecture. When I left you 4 years ago, she said quietly, I thought I was doing the right thing, getting out before your world destroyed me. Turns out I just delayed it. You're not destroyed. Not yet. She turned back to him. But every day I'm here, every day Connor gets more attached to you. I feel like I'm losing pieces of the life I built, the safe life, the normal life. I'm sorry. Are you? Or are you just sorry it's hard? Nicholas didn't answer immediately. He looked at her, really looked, and saw the exhaustion, the fear, the anger that had been building since the night he showed up at her door with DNA results. I'm sorry for all of it, he said finally, for signing the papers without fighting, for not answering your calls, for missing 4 years of his life, for dragging you back into this. All of it. Samantha's eyes filled with tears. She blinked them back furiously. Don't do that. Do what? Apologize like you're saying goodbye. I'm not. Then stop acting like it. He closed the distance between them. She didn't back away. They stood inches apart, the air between them charged with 4 years of silence and everything they'd never said. I'm coming back, Nicholas said. I need you to believe that. I'm trying. Try harder. She almost smiled. Almost. You're impossible. I know. Footsteps pounded down the hallway. Connor burst through the door, nearly out of breath. Nicholas, Ms. Carter said the Triceratops could run 20 miles per hour. But I said it was only 15, and he said I should look it up. So can we look it up? Nicholas turned, and his entire expression softened. We can look it up. Now? Right now. Connor grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the door. Nicholas glanced back at Samantha once before being dragged into the hallway. She stood alone in the studio, heart pounding, hands shaking. He was leaving in 4 hours, and she had no idea if he was coming back. At 5 o'clock, Connor had his swimming lesson. Nicholas stood at the edge of the pool, watching him practice the diving technique they'd worked on yesterday. Connor's form was still clumsy, all enthusiasm and no precision, but he was trying. Good, Nicholas called, but bend your knees more before you jump. Connor nodded seriously and climbed out to try again. Samantha sat in one of the lounge chairs pretending to read a magazine. She hadn't turned a page in 15 minutes. After the 5th dive, Connor paddled to the edge. Can we do this again tomorrow? Nicholas crouched down to his level. Absolutely. Promise? I promise. Okay. Connor grinned and swam off to the shallow end. Nicholas stood and walked over to Samantha. Can I talk to you for a minute? She set the magazine aside. Sure. They moved to the far corner of the pool area, out of Connor's earshot. I want to tell him, Nicholas said. Tell him what? The truth. That I'm his father. Samantha's stomach dropped. Now? Today? Not today. When I get back. But I wanted you to know I'm ready. Why? Because he should know. Because I'm tired of being just Nicholas. Because if something goes wrong tonight, I want him to understand who I was to him. You said nothing would go wrong. I don't think it will. But I'm not leaving without saying this. She looked across the pool at Connor, who was now floating on his back, staring up at the glass ceiling. What if he doesn't understand? He's smart. He'll understand. What if he's angry I didn't tell him sooner? Then we deal with it together. Together, she repeated. Like a team? Yes. She studied his face, looking for deception or manipulation. She found neither. Just honesty. Raw and uncomfortable. Okay, she said finally. When you get back, we tell him. Together? Together. Connor called out from the pool. Mom, watch this. He did an underwater somersault, came up sputtering and grinning. That was amazing, Samantha called back. Nicholas checked his watch. I need to start getting ready. I know. Will you have dinner with me first? You and Connor? You want a family dinner 4 hours before you walk into a potential war zone? Yes. She didn't understand him. Probably never would. But she nodded anyway. Okay. Dinner was strange. Maria had prepared Connor's favorite, mac and cheese with cut-up hot dogs. She'd also made roasted chicken and vegetables for the adults. They sat together at the kitchen table, not the formal dining room, and it felt almost normal. Connor talked through most of the meal, telling them about a new dinosaur he'd learned about called Therizinosaurus. "It has claws this long," he said, spreading his arms wide. "And it ate plants, but it could still fight." "Sounds dangerous," Nicholas said. "Everything's dangerous if you make it mad," Connor replied seriously. Nicholas smiled. "That's true." After dinner, Connor asked if Nicholas would read him a story before bed. Nicholas glanced at Samantha. She nodded. They went upstairs together, the three of them. Connor changed into pajamas while Samantha tidied his room. Nicholas stood in the doorway, watching. "Which book tonight?" Samantha asked. Connor pulled one from the shelf. A picture book about dinosaurs. "This one." They settled on Connor's bed, Connor in the middle, Samantha on one side, Nicholas on the other. Nicholas read slowly, doing different voices for each dinosaur. Connor giggled at the T-Rex voice. Halfway through the book, Connor leaned against Nicholas's arm. By the end, his eyes were drooping. "One more?" he mumbled. "Not tonight," Samantha said gently. "You need sleep, but I'm not tired. Your eyes say different." Connor yawned, proving her point. Nicholas set the book aside and stood carefully. Connor grabbed his hand. "You're coming back, right?" Connor asked. "For breakfast?" Nicholas crouched down. "I'm coming back." "You promise?" "I promise." Connor nodded, satisfied. "Okay. Night, Nicholas." "Good night, Connor." Samantha kissed Connor's forehead, turned off the light, and followed Nicholas into the hallway. She pulled the door mostly closed, leaving it cracked so she'd hear if he called. They stood in the dim hallway, neither speaking. "I should go get ready," Nicholas said finally. "What do you wear to something like this?" "Bulletproof vest under a suit jacket." She flinched. "That's not funny. It wasn't a joke." He started toward the stairs. Samantha followed. At the bottom, she caught his arm. "Nicholas." He turned. "Come back to us," she said. "Not for me. Not even for Connor. For yourself. Because you deserve to be more than this." "More than what?" "More than a man who walks into danger because it's all he knows how to do." His expression cracked, just for a second. Then he pulled the mask back into place. "I'll be back by midnight." "You better be." He left without another word. Samantha stood in the empty hallway, listening to car engines start outside. The convoy pulled away, taillights disappearing down the driveway. She checked on Connor one more time. Still asleep. Then she went to her room, sat on the edge of the bed, and waited. The warehouse in Red Hook looked abandoned from the outside. Broken windows, faded paint, graffiti on the walls. But Nicholas knew better. Volkov's people had been using it for months. The convoy parked 2 blocks away. Nicholas, Ethan, and 2 others approached on foot. Team Alpha was already in position on the neighboring rooftop. Team Bravo covered the rear exit. "Comms check," Ethan said quietly into his radio. 4 confirmations came back. They reached the main entrance at 7:58. Nicholas pushed the door open. It wasn't locked. Inside, the warehouse was exactly what he expected. Bare concrete floors, exposed beams, shadows everywhere. Volkov stood in the center with 6 men flanking him. "Nicholas Pellagrini," Volkov said in accented English. "You came. You asked for a meeting. I asked for negotiation. You brought army. You brought 6 men. I brought insurance." Volkov smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You are smart, man. Too smart, maybe. What do you want, Dmitri? I want you to stop interfering with my business. Brooklyn territory is mine now." "No," Nicholas said simply. "It's not." "Then we have problem. We've had a problem since you sent men to my property. Since you took photos of my son." Volkov's smile widened. "Ah, yes. The boy. He looks like you. Very much." Nicholas's hands curled into fists. "If you threaten him again, there won't be negotiation. There won't be a meeting. There will just be you, dead, wherever I find you. Big words for man surrounded." "Am I surrounded?" Nicholas asked. "Check your windows." Volkov glanced up. Red laser dots appeared on his chest. on each of his men. From the rooftop across the street, Volkov's expression darkened. You set trap. You walked into it. So what now? You kill us all? No, Nicholas said. That's too easy. Now you answer for what you've done. On cue, the rear door burst open. Federal agents poured in, weapons drawn, badges visible. FBI, nobody move. Volkov reached for his gun. Ethan shot him in the shoulder before he could draw. Volkov went down hard. The other men surrendered immediately, hands up. Agent Morrison approached Nicholas. We'll take it from here. Make sure they don't make bail. Already arranged. Charges are solid. They won't see daylight for 20 years. Nicholas watched as agents handcuffed Volkov and his men, reading them rights, hauling them toward waiting vehicles. It was over in 6 minutes. Ethan holstered his weapon. Clean operation. Almost too clean. You complaining? No, just cautious. They swept the warehouse once more to confirm it was clear, then walked back to the convoy. Nicholas pulled out his phone and sent a text. It's done. On my way back. 3 dots appeared immediately. Samantha typing. Then just, okay. The drive back to Long Island took 40 minutes. Nicholas spent most of it staring out the window, processing what had just happened. It was over. The threat was neutralized. Connor was safe. And he'd kept his promise. The gates opened as they approached. Nicholas thanked Ethan and the team, then walked into the house alone. It was just past midnight. The first floor was dark. He took the stairs quietly, not wanting to wake anyone. But Samantha's door was open. Light spilled into the hallway. He knocked softly. Come in, she said. She was sitting on the couch in the small sitting area, still dressed, clearly unable to sleep. Her eyes went to him immediately, scanning for injuries. I'm fine, he said. You're back. I told you I would be. She stood slowly. It's really over? Yes. Volkov and his men are in federal custody. They won't be getting out. Her breath left in a rush. Connor's safe. Connor's safe. She crossed the room in 3 steps and threw her arms around him. Nicholas froze for half a second, surprised, then wrapped his arms around her waist, pulling her close. She was shaking. Or maybe he was. Hard to tell. I thought you weren't coming back. She whispered against his chest. I promised. People break promises. I don't. Not to you. Not anymore. She pulled back just enough to look up at him. Her eyes were wet, but she wasn't crying. Not quite. Thank you, she said. For what? For keeping him safe. For keeping us safe. That's not something you need to thank me for. Yes, it is. They stood there, still holding each other, the space between them smaller than it had been in years. Nicholas lifted one hand and brushed a strand of hair from her face. We should tell him tomorrow. About me. Are you sure? I'm sure. She nodded. Okay. Tomorrow. He reluctantly let her go and stepped back. You should get some sleep. So should you. I will. He turned to leave, but her voice stopped him. Nicholas. He looked back. I'm glad you came back. Me too. He left, closing the door quietly behind him. Upstairs in his own room, Nicholas finally let himself breathe. It was done. The war was over. And tomorrow, he'd tell his son the truth. 3 months passed before Samantha realized she'd stopped counting days. The property no longer felt like a fortress. It felt like home, or something close to it. Connor ran through the halls without hesitation, knew every guard by name, had claimed the library as his personal kingdom. The threat was gone. Volkov and his lieutenants were serving federal sentences that would keep them locked away for decades. The Bratva's operations in New York had collapsed without leadership. Other families had moved in to fill the vacuum, but none of them had interest in Nicholas's territories or his family. They were safe, and yet Samantha and Connor were still here. Nicholas had offered more than once to help them move back to Brooklyn, set them up in a better apartment, hire security if she wanted it, give them space. She'd said no every time. Not because she was afraid, but because leaving felt wrong now. Felt like running from something that had finally started to take shape. Connor called it home. He had routines here. Friends among the staff. A tutor he loved. A pool he swam in every day. And he had Nicholas. They'd told Connor the truth 2 days after Nicholas returned from Brooklyn. Sat him down in the library. both of them nervous in ways they hadn't expected. "Connor, we need to talk to you about something important," Samantha had said. Connor looked up from his dinosaur book, curious, but not worried. "Okay." Nicholas had cleared his throat. "You know how you asked me once if I was going to stay here with you and your mom?" "Yeah." "You said yes. That's because I'm not just your mom's friend. I'm your father." Connor had blinked, processed, then tilted his head. "Like a dad?" "Yes, like a dad." "Oh." Connor thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. "Does that mean you live here now? Like forever?" Nicholas had glanced at Samantha, uncertain. She'd nodded slightly. "If you want me to," Nicholas said. "I want you to," Connor replied simply. "Can we still do chess?" "Of course." "And swimming?" "Every day if you want." "Cool. Can I go back to my book now?" They'd let him go, both of them stunned by how easily he'd accepted it. "That's it?" Samantha had whispered. "No questions? No anger?" "He's 4, Nicholas said. "He just knows he's loved. That's enough." And apparently it was. Connor started calling Nicholas Dad within a week. Not all the time, but enough that it stopped sounding strange. He'd run into a room yelling for Dad to come see something, and Nicholas would drop whatever he was doing and go. Samantha watched them together constantly, still marveling at how natural it had become. Nicholas teaching Connor to ride a bike on the long driveway. Nicholas reading bedtime stories in different voices. Nicholas patiently explaining why velociraptors were actually much smaller than Jurassic Park showed them. He was a good father. Better than she'd expected. Better than she'd let herself hope for. But they still hadn't talked about what came next. For her and Nicholas. The adults in this equation. They existed in a strange limbo. Co-parenting. Living under the same roof. Occasionally catching each other's eyes across a room and looking away too quickly. The night Nicholas kissed her after returning from Brooklyn had been real. She hadn't imagined it. But neither of them had mentioned it since. Until tonight. Connor was asleep. Samantha had finished her evening class with students. She'd painted for an hour, then wandered downstairs looking for tea. She found Nicholas in the kitchen instead. He was leaning against the counter, glass of water in hand, staring at nothing. "Can't sleep?" she asked. He looked up. "Not really." "You?" "Same." She poured herself tea and sat at the island. He stayed where he was, watching her. "We should talk," he said finally. "About what?" "About this. Us. Whatever we're doing." Her heart kicked. "Okay." He set his glass down and crossed his arms. "You've been here 3 months. The threat's gone. You could leave any time, but you haven't. Connor's happy here." "Is that the only reason?" She looked down at her tea. "No. Then what's the other reason?" She took a breath. "I don't know yet. Ask me again in a month. I'm asking now." "Why?" "Because I need to know if you're staying because it's convenient or because you want to." "Want to what?" she challenged. "Stay in your house? Raise our son under your roof? Pretend we're some kind of family? We are a family. We're co-parents with shared space. That's not the same thing." Nicholas pushed off the counter and closed the distance between them. Then what would make it the same thing? She stood to meet him, tired of looking up. "I don't know, Nicholas. You tell me. You're the one who let me go 4 years ago without fighting. You're the one who built walls so high I couldn't climb them. You're the one who decided what was best for me without asking. I was wrong. I know you were wrong. But knowing doesn't fix it." "Then what does?" "Time," she said. "Trust. Proof that you've actually changed and this isn't just about Connor. It's not just about Connor. Prove it." He stared at her for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Samantha's breath stopped. "What is that?" Nicholas opened it. Inside was a ring. Not new. Old. Familiar. Her wedding ring, but different. The band had been resized. Small stones had been added to the setting. Birthstones. February. Connor's birth month. "You kept it," she whispered. "I kept everything," he said. "Your ring. Photos. The painting you left in the apartment. Everything. Why? Because I wasn't ready to let go. Even when I signed the papers. Even when I told myself it was over. I couldn't throw away the only proof I'd ever had something real. Tears burned her eyes. "Nicholas, I'm not asking you to marry me again," he said quickly. "Not yet. Not until you're ready. But I want you to know I'm serious. About us. About building something that lasts. How do I know you won't run again? Because I have something to lose now. You. Connor. This." He gestured around the kitchen. "I was a coward 4 years ago. I'm not anymore." She looked at the ring, at the birthstones that represented the son he hadn't known existed when they divorced, at the care that had gone into having it redesigned. "When did you do this?" she asked. 2 months ago, after things settled, after I knew we were safe. You've been carrying it around for 2 months, waiting for the right time to show you. And now is the right time? I don't know, but I'm tired of waiting." Samantha took the box from his hand and studied the ring up close. It was beautiful. Understated. Perfect. "I need time," she said. "I know, and I need you to court me. Properly. Like we're starting over. I can do that. And I need you to be patient when I'm difficult." "You're not difficult." "Yes, I am. I'm angry and scared, and I don't trust easily anymore." "I know," he said gently. "And I'll earn it back, however long it takes." She closed the box and handed it back to him. "Keep it safe, for when I'm ready." "You will be?" "Ready, I mean? Ask me in a month." He smiled. Actually smiled. "You said that already. Then ask me every month until the answer changes." "Deal." She picked up her tea and started toward the door. Then stopped. Turned back. "Nicholas?" "Yeah?" "Thank you. For this. For trying. I should have tried 4 years ago. You're trying now. That's what matters." She left before he could respond. Upstairs, she checked on Connor one more time. He was sprawled across his bed, covers kicked off, T-Rex on the floor. She picked up the dinosaur and tucked it back beside him. He stirred. "Mom? I'm here, baby. Is Dad still here too?" Her throat tightened at how easily he said it. "Dad. He's downstairs." "Good. I like when we're all here." "Me too." "Night, Mom." "Night, Connor." She kissed his forehead and left. In her own room, she sat on the edge of the bed and let herself cry. Not sad tears, not happy ones either. Just release. 4 years of holding everything together. 4 years of being strong alone. She didn't have to be alone anymore, if she wanted. The next morning, Nicholas did exactly what she'd asked. He courted her. Flowers appeared on the kitchen counter with a note. "Coffee's ready. I remembered how you take it." Dinner invitations written on folded paper slipped under her door. "Maria's making your favorite. Join me. 8 o'clock. Connor's invited too. Small gifts that weren't expensive but were personal. A new set of brushes for her studio. A book she'd mentioned wanting to read. A framed photo of Connor from the park, taken months ago when everything was still complicated. He didn't push, didn't demand, just showed up, consistently, proving he meant what he'd said. 2 weeks later, Samantha's father called. She'd been avoiding him since arriving at the property. Sent occasional texts confirming she was safe, but refused video calls. She wasn't ready to explain. But he called at a time when she couldn't ignore it. Connor answered her phone before she could stop him. "Hello?" A pause. "This is Connor. Who are you?" Another pause. Connor's face lit up. "Your grandpa?" "Mom talks about you." Samantha crossed the room in 3 steps and took the phone gently. "Dad." "Samantha." Her father's voice was strained. "Who was that?" "That was Connor. Your grandson." Silence on the other end. "I had a baby," she continued. 4 years ago, after the divorce. I should have told you sooner, but things were complicated." "Complicated how?" "He's Nicholas's son." More silence. Then, "Are you serious?" "Yes." "And you're where? Still in New York?" "Yes. We're at Nicholas's property. It's a long story. I think I need to hear it." She told him. Not everything, but enough. The festival. The reunion. The DNA test. The threats. The move to Long Island. The resolution. When she finished, her father was quiet for a long time. "I need to come see you," he said finally. "Dad, you don't... I need to meet my grandson. And I need to talk to Nicholas. About what? About the conversation I had with him 4 years ago. The one I regret every day. Samantha's chest tightened. He told me. About you asking him to let me go. I thought I was protecting you. I was wrong, and I need to tell him that. Face to face. He knows. He deserves to hear it from me anyway. She looked across the room at Connor, who was building a tower with blocks. When do you want to come? This weekend, if that works. I'll ask Nicholas. Samantha? Yeah? I'm sorry. For interfering. For thinking I knew what was best when I should have let you choose. I know, Dad. Do you forgive me? I'm working on it. That's fair. They talked a few more minutes, then hung up. Samantha found Nicholas in his office that afternoon. My father wants to visit this weekend. Nicholas looked up from his laptop. Okay. You're not worried? About what? About seeing him again, after everything. He was trying to protect you. I understand that now. Nicholas closed the laptop. He can stay here if he wants. Guest room on the 2nd floor. You'd do that? He's Connor's grandfather, and your father. Of course I would. He wants to apologize to you. He doesn't need to. He thinks he does. Nicholas leaned back in his chair. Then I'll listen. That weekend, Samantha's father arrived. He looked older than she remembered. More gray hair, deeper lines around his eyes. But he smiled when Connor ran to greet him. You must be Connor. I'm 4, and I know everything about dinosaurs. That's impressive. Do you know about dinosaurs? Not as much as you, I bet. Connor grabbed his hand. Come on. I'll teach you. He dragged her father toward the library. Samantha and Nicholas followed at a distance. He's a lot like you, her father said, glancing back at Nicholas. I've noticed. They spent the afternoon together. Connor showed off his drawings, his dinosaur collection, his ability to hold his breath underwater for 10 seconds. Her father listened to every word, asked questions, laughed at Connor's jokes. At dinner, Connor sat between his grandfather and Nicholas, perfectly content. After Connor went to bed, the 3 adults sat in the living room. Awkward silence filled the space until her father finally spoke. Nicholas, I owe you an apology. You don't. Yes, I do. I interfered in your marriage. Told you to let my daughter go because I thought your world was too dangerous for her. I was wrong. Nicholas didn't respond immediately. When he did, his voice was measured. You were trying to protect her. I don't fault you for that. But I took away her choice. And yours. I convinced you that leaving was noble when really I was just scared. We all were, Nicholas said. Scared doesn't make you wrong. Just human. She's happy here, her father said, glancing at Samantha. I can see that. And Connor is thriving. That's what matters. It is, Nicholas agreed. Her father stood. I'm going to bed. Thank you for having me. Anytime. After he left, Samantha and Nicholas sat in silence. That went better than expected, she said finally. He loves you. He was just trying to do right by you. You're being generous. I'm being honest. 4 years ago I would have been angry. Now I just understand. She looked at him. Really looked. You have changed. Is that a good thing? Yes, she said. It's a very good thing. Over the next month, life continued. Her father visited twice more. Connor turned 5 in February. Nicholas threw him a birthday party with a dinosaur theme that involved cake shaped like a triceratops, and decorations that turned the living room into prehistoric times. Connor was ecstatic. Samantha watched Nicholas navigate fatherhood with a grace she hadn't expected. He was patient, present, protective without being overbearing. And with her, he was persistent, not pushy, just there, consistently showing up, proving he meant what he'd said. One evening in late March, they were sitting on the back patio while Connor played in the yard with one of the guards. Spring was arriving slowly, flowers blooming, air warming. I have a question, Nicholas said. Okay. Are you ready yet? She turned to him. Ready for what? He pulled the small box from his pocket, the one with her ring. This. Us. Whatever you want to call it. Her heart hammered. You said you'd ask every month. It's been a month. It's been 3. 3 months since I showed you the ring, but I've been asking in other ways every day since. She couldn't argue with that. Connor asked me this morning when you and I were going to be married like his friend's parents. Nicholas continued. What did you tell him? That it was up to you. That I was working on it. Working on it how? By being the man you deserve. The partner you needed 4 years ago. The father Connor needs now. You've been doing that already. Then let me make it official. She looked at the box. At his face. At Connor running across the lawn, laughing. Ask me properly, she said. Nicholas stood, opened the box, took out the ring. Then he got down on one knee. Samantha Wells, will you marry me? Again? Knowing who I am and what I come with? Knowing it won't be easy, but it will be real? Tears filled her eyes. Yes. Yes? Yes. I'll marry you. Again. Properly this time. He slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. The birthstones caught the light. Connor saw them and ran over. Why is Dad on the ground? He just asked me to marry him, Samantha said. Connor's eyes went wide. And you said yes? I said yes. Does that mean we're a real family now? Nicholas stood and pulled Connor into a hug. We've been a real family for a while, buddy. This just makes it official. Cool. Can I tell Grandpa? You can tell everyone. Connor ran inside, yelling for Maria and her father. Samantha and Nicholas stood alone on the patio. Are you sure about this? She asked. Really sure. I've never been more sure of anything. Even with all my baggage? All my trust issues? Especially with those, he said. Because they mean you're not settling. You're choosing. And you're choosing me. She reached up and kissed him. Soft. Sure. Full of promise. When they pulled apart, he was smiling. What? She asked. I just realized I get to spend the rest of my life proving I'm worth that choice. You already have, she said. Every day for the last 3 months. Then I'll keep doing it. Every day for the rest of our lives. Connor burst back outside. Grandpa's crying. Happy crying, he said. And Maria's making a cake. Samantha laughed. Of course she is. The three of them walked back into the house together. Nicholas's hand in Samantha's. Connor between them. Talking about whether they'd have dinosaurs at the wedding. It wasn't the life Samantha had planned. It was better. Messy and complicated and built on second chances. But real. And finally, after 4 years of being apart, they were building something that would last. Together. The end.